The world's most successful executives spend 50% of their workdays doing absolutely nothing. While most professionals equate activity with achievement, data from top-tier consulting firms suggest that constant motion is often a symptom of strategic failure. The difference between a six-figure salary and a nine-figure net worth frequently comes down to a single, disciplined habit: thinking time. This analysis explores how elite performers use scheduled periods of solitude to solve problems before they occur, uncovering why stepping away from the desk is the highest ROI activity a person can perform. In the modern economy, the activity trap consumes the vast majority of human capital. Research indicates that the average corporate employee is interrupted every 11 minutes, costing the global economy an estimated $450 billion in lost productivity annually. When a schedule is filled with back-to-back meetings and urgent emails, the brain remains in a reactive state. This neurological loop prevents the prefrontal cortex from engaging in System 2 thinking, the deep, analytical processing required for complex decision-making and long-term planning. The IRS reports that a significant portion of high-income earners attribute their success not to the hours spent doing, but to the hours spent deciding. Without a dedicated space to process information, leaders often find themselves sprinting in the wrong direction, compounding small errors into catastrophic losses. Consider the reality of a mid-sized business owner. If an individual works 60 hours a week but makes one strategic error worth $100,000, their effective hourly rate drops toward zero, regardless of how hard they worked. By contrast, those who prioritize deliberate reflection can identify force multipliers, actions that produce 10 times the result for the same amount of effort. But transitioning from a culture of business to a culture of clarity requires a shift in how one perceives value. The data suggests that the most expensive resource in any organization is not labor or materials, but the lack of clear thought. This leads to the question of how the world's most influential figures structure their mental landscapes. History's most effective operators share a common trait. They treat thinking as a primary job function, not a luxury. Bill Gates famously popularized the Think Week, where he would retreat to a secluded cabin with nothing but a stack of papers and a notebook. During these sessions, Gates was not checking emails or taking calls. He was synthesizing information that led to the pivot toward the internet in the mid-90s, a move that secured his company's dominance for the next 3 decades. Warren Buffett operates with a similar philosophy. It is reported that he spends 80% of his day reading and thinking, keeping his calendar almost entirely empty. This lack of clutter allows him to wait for the fat pitch, the rare investment opportunity with massive upside and minimal risk. For the average professional, a full week of solitude may be impossible, but the principle remains scalable. Strategic thinkers like Keith Cunningham advocate for the thinking chair, a specific physical location used only for deep questioning. By sitting in the same spot at the same time every week, the brain begins to associate that environment with high-level synthesis. This neurological conditioning reduces the friction of entering a flow state, making the thinking time more efficient. This practice is not about daydreaming. It is about rigorous, structured inquiry. It is about moving from the how to the why, which leads directly to the measurable return on investment for mental clarity. To understand the value of this habit, one must look at the return on investment. If 30 minutes of thinking prevents a $50,000 mistake, that session was worth $100,000 per hour. The thinking time process typically involves asking high-quality questions. Instead of asking, "How can I work more?" an elite performer asks, "What is the one bottleneck that if removed would double my output with half the effort?" Neuroscientists have found that when the brain is not focused on a specific external task, it enters the default mode network. This is where disparate ideas are connected, leading to aha moments and creative breakthroughs that are impossible during a busy workday. Studies in the Journal of Applied Psychology suggest that individuals who practice regular self-reflection perform 23% better on complex tasks than those who do not. In a competitive market, a 23% edge is the difference between a market leader and a bankruptcy filing. This ROI is compounding. Each insight gained during thinking time informs better decisions the following week, creating a virtuous cycle of efficiency. Over a 5-year period, This compounding effect can result in a career trajectory that looks vastly different from the median. However, knowing the value of thinking is not the same as executing it. Implementation requires a system that protects the mind from the constant noise of the marketplace. The successful implementation of thinking time requires three core elements: a schedule, a pen, and a question. Most high performers block out at least 60 minutes of untouchable time on their calendars each week. The use of physical pen and paper is critical. Digital devices, while efficient, are designed for consumption and distraction. Handwriting engages different parts of the brain and slows the thinking process down enough to allow for deeper analysis. The session should begin with a power question. Examples include, if I could only work 2 hours a week, what would I focus on? Or what are the assumptions I am making that might be false? The first 15 minutes are often unproductive, as the surface-level noise of the day clears out. It is during the final 15 minutes of a 60-minute session that the most profound insights usually emerge. Consistency is more important than duration. 52 hours of structured thinking per year, just 1 hour a week, can put an individual in the top 1% of their field by simply avoiding the common pitfalls of the impulsive majority. By treating this time as a non-negotiable appointment with oneself, a person moves from being a passenger in their career to the primary architect of their future. Wealth is not built by working harder, but by thinking better. Those who master their schedule to allow for solitude will always outperform those who are simply too busy to succeed. If this changed how you think about productivity, the next video breaks down the specific capital allocation strategies used by the world's most successful family offices.